My very first script was completely rewritten by my good friend now, Karen Curtis, who was the script editor. And in those days they script edited by hand, so it had red pen all through it, every syllable. So she thought that I had no hope whatsoever, but still gave me really intense feedback, and I just took it all on board. And I was really swotty. And so the second one, actually, some of my lines made it to air. And then by the third one, I managed to get hired onto the roster. After a couple of years of doing that, I went in and trained on the storylining table for about 8 weeks, and then trained in the script editing department for another 8 weeks, and ended up being a script editor for a few years. That was kind of like my first thing that wasn't Shortland Street, and it was quite a different process because the storyline sort of came to me as an idea that they had that they wanted to happen, and then I just got asked to write a treatment for it. And then, you know, once that got the tick, it was writing a script. And I was really lucky because my first script was the school show, and the school show they had already decided was Midsummer Night's Dream, which is one of my favourites. So, so that was a great job. It was totally up my alley, writing for teenagers. But, you know, we were writing it in a way that that adults could watch it as well, and totally get stuff that other kids, the little kids, didn't. Mercy Peak. So after I'd done Being Eve, someone gave my name to Rachel Lang, who I had worked with on Shorty on and off through the years, and they were by then on to series 2 of Mercy Peak. Series 1 hadn't aired yet, but they gave me VHS of the entire series, and so I watched it literally in one day. And this was before binge watching was a thing, but I watched it all in one day and then started on my first script pretty much straight away. And I think it must have, I'm sure it was the marathon watching that helped, but you know, I somehow got it straight away. So that was Mercy Peak, and it was new. It was a 1 hour. I kind of was winging it, but it was a good time. James, Rachel and Tim Balm were the main writers, and they would get guest writers like myself and a few others, and we'd go in for the storylining day for our own ep. So again, they already knew sort of what had to happen, but we would spend the day detailing and helping out so that you know what your script is about, basically. It was great fun, obviously. Being able to swear and, you know, be really naughty. And you know, I could draw on some of my West Auckland family. And in fact, at the beginning of each series of Outrageous, they would do a just sort of a brainstorming day with various people. And that was always good fun as well. Just sitting around talking, sharing stories. I do have a very large and interesting family. My family are from all over the place. So Rachel and James were always quite keen to hear the latest story about various cousins and so on. I just loved it. It was kind of the first time that I'd gone to cast read-throughs and stuff like that. And yeah, meetings with, because you know it was a new show, you're setting up, talking about style and costume and everything else. So I got to go to those kind of meetings as well. So it was a really big learning curve. And then when series 2 came along, Rachel was really busy on Outrageous Fortune, and Gavin was doing This Is Not My Life, so they were both show running other shows, so they let me loose with their baby. But I did consider it my baby by that stage as well, and that was another big jump. So that was, yeah, casting and going to screenings and what else? Yeah, talking to all the various departments and about stuff. So yeah, but I loved it. It was great fun. It was an interesting one because in development, TVNZ were looking for something for TV1. Nothing Trivial was one of the ideas that they liked, but then they also liked an idea that I had, which later became Step Dave. So, but they were developed alongside each other to, and you know, then TVNZ were going to decide which one to go with, and ultimately they did go with Nothing Trivial, which was great. But it was really quite a strange time because Rach and Gav and I always worked together, and here we were kind of competing for the same slot. But you know, I got to work on Nothing Trivial, and I really loved it because again, the characters are my age. I could relate to them, and the pub quiz thing was, I thought, a genius idea of Rachel and Gavin's, and you know, a lot of people could relate to those characters and saw them as friends that they kind of dropped in on each week. I found it really difficult because it wasn't light comedy, you know, light drama. So when it did go into production and Rachel asked me to join the team, at first I said no because I didn't think I would be useful, to be honest. But she kept on gently bullying me until I said okay. And I'm really glad I did because, like I said, it wasn't my genre. It was something I'd never done before. It made my brain hurt. But after we'd done it, I was so glad to have done it. It was really interesting, and I think the show looked fantastic, and the cast were really good, and it was really intriguing. We had to do it very fast, was the main challenge, and so casting and everything, we really had to rush on decisions. Luckily, we found this couple who looked like a couple. The chemistry was there straight away, which we were surprised about because we weren't expecting to cast Thea and Jono. You know, we just weren't. They weren't expecting to be cast either. I was writing some scripts towards the end. I was writing them overnight, all night, and then they were being distributed. I have a memory of sitting in the production office writing a scene and handing it over to be shot for the episode that was already being shot. So it was faster than I've ever worked before. I do sometimes look back at some of the episodes and only see my mistakes.